expounding more on to that matter as we get to focus on the challenges that face SMEs in this country. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Very, very nice to be here. Looking forward to the conversation around how we work to improve small businesses in terms of facilitating an application that allows them to digitize how they operate, and then also on top of the data that they generate, we're able to provide them with mobile loans that can be used for their business.
So maybe I understand that Asilimia as a Swahili word means percentage in English.
Yes.
So how did it all come to be?
So yeah, so basically when we started out, we were providing we wanted to solve the problem that mobile money has a lot of fees. So every time you send money to either your family members or supplier or pay for anything, there's the transaction fees that are charged. And what we thought is that we should zero rate that. And most of the time, companies that provide payment infrastructure like to charge you a percentage of the value that you transact. So we said, let's make it 0%. So Asilimia in Kiswahili means percentage. So we take off the transaction fee and allow you to use your preferred mobile money provider at 100% free.
Has the society fully accepted this change? How is it so far?
Users love the product a lot because typically a user or a trader that uses our product, she would normally spend 4,000 shillings a month in mobile money fees. And now they spend around about 350 shillings monthly. So we moved that from 4,000 shillings to 350, and currently it's actually at 0 shillings.
I believe that so far as a company you've got to secure or rather land a very lucrative deal. And how is the growth so far, and how will it enable to fund the small and medium enterprises?
Yeah, so we've been growing at 30% week on week, getting a lot of traders on board in terms of the platform, because currently with COVID, there's been that need to digitize how small businesses operate. And then secondly, just because capital isn't sufficient in terms of going down to the small businesses, you find that there's a lot of interest. So currently it's very chaotic in the office where, we have to hire quite a lot of people to just be able to support the demand and the infrastructure. And now, and so we are seeing a lot of interest from the traders.
Can you tell us maybe more on how one can be able to access this fund, the apps that they need to download, and how you get to have a clear criteria on matters of eligibility?
So yeah, so unlike most financial institutions that provide loans, whether we talk about conventional banks or financial institutions where they'll tell you, I think you have to make a deposit, or they have to see how much money you save. And we know that in Kenya, finding capital to save is quite difficult, and especially for the micro SMEs, the mamambogas. So what we are trying to kind of change the narrative and the process and say, let's just see you record how you do your business. So in the morning, if you wake up, tell us how much stock you have. And then by the end of the day, keep updating us on you've sold this amount of products, and then also what your expenses were. If you've paid city council for the premises that you're operating with, just put that. If you bought maybe lunch as well, just put that so that we can understand how your expenses compare to your profit. And then over time, we're able to use that data and say, now we can trust you and give you a loan based on the viability of your business. So now we're not asking too much of micro SMEs because we can't ask them for collateral because they don't usually have that. We can't ask them to save because unfortunately most of the time they run their business on a day-to-day basis. So what they make during the day is what they spend, and then the cycle starts all over again.
So what happens at some point where as you've stated, you can't ask for collateral? Maybe this person gets to a loan from Asilimia and they can't refund it, or rather it gets some of those challenges that are witnessed there. What happens in the middle of all of that?
I think, as they say, data is the new oil and numbers don't lie, right? So I think we find there's more safety in numbers than even the collateral in itself, because what happens is that even if I take collateral and they choose not to pay, I still don't have my money back. What I have is a piece of land, a logbook. So for us, we just prefer to say that I think we, just using new technologies around machine learning and data modeling, we are able to understand whether the person will be able to pay currently and also in the future, right? So we're not, we're very confident that the traders will be able to pay back based on how their business is performing, because even if we were to take collateral, if the business is performing badly, where would the capital come from? So by doing a very deep analysis and understanding how the business is performing, I think that gives us a better sense of if this person is able to pay or not.
So today, the President Uhuru Kenyatta will be addressing the nation, and economy will top the agenda. So what are maybe some of your expectations in regards to that matter when it comes to looking if the economy in this country will head to an upward trajectory?
Yeah, so I guess, just the usual things around, given, still we're kind of going through the impacts of COVID, the economy is kind of starting up, some tax subsidies and, government support around how do small businesses get a little bit more support from either the government supporting the financial institutions and the companies that work with the small traders, whether it's kind of guarantees to loans or facilitations of capital that can be lent or not lent to small businesses. So that's kind of, or if it's whether it's some realignment of some VAT or taxes to just allow small businesses to either get the products they get at a cheaper price as opposed to, maybe the current situation where the cost of running the business is kind of quite high. So do you believe that Kenya has a higher financial inclusion rate than most of the continent due to, advert placements like the use of M-Pesa? Yes, so in comparison to other African countries, the financial touch points are much more accessible. So if you think about mobile money, it's quite rampantly used, where a small business or somebody even in the village now can digitize their coins and notes and be able to pay for any service and product. So whether if you think about e-commerce has been enabled because now all you need to do is deposit money into your mobile phone and then you can pay for the online product. Also, when you think about the digital lending as well, where if we provide loans to our users, we can just easily send the money into their mobile money account or even to their bank account, and they'll still be able to quickly access it through their smartphone and even their basic phones, as opposed to maybe other African countries where it's still very reliant on cash, where if you don't have a way of collecting the coins and the notes, then you can't do any business. So, but for now, for Kenya, you see more and more citizens kind of getting used to using digital payment platforms without hesitation, as opposed to maybe in some other countries where people are still kind of wondering if I put my money into this wallet or digital wallet, will the money disappear? But now Kenyans are more comfortable with just getting an SMS that says you've received 10,000 shillings, but you've really not gotten 10,000 shillings in your pocket, but you're still okay with the idea that virtually there's 10,000 shillings of yours. Banks as well have been quite aggressive in terms of opening up banking agents closer to the customers, and that is a good sign of showing that more people are now kind of the first layer of financial inclusion, which is accessing financial touch points, has happened. What we now need to go to is the second layer, which is how do now people get access to loans that help them build their wealth or protect the wealth that they currently have, whether it's about owning a home, whether it's about buying a cow that has produces more milk than the current cow that you have, to just getting money for stocking up your business so that at least you can sell more products. Because what we see is that all the businesses are currently underperforming just because they don't have enough capital to buy enough stock. So even when you think about mobile money agents, right? So on a day-to-day basis, they're struggling with float because it's actual money that they need to have to service the customer. So you'll go to an agent and he'll tell you, Paul has seen a float. And that's just because he doesn't have access to more than, let's say, 50,000 Kenya shillings in a day, and people are transacting 500,000 Kenya shillings. But, you know, we would have 100% financial inclusion if he was able to get the loan that he needed and just pay it back at the end of the day or at the end of the month. So the same thing we see when we go to the markets, where a trader will just buy 2 pair of shoes, not because the market needs 2 pair of shoes, but that's only what he can afford, and he has to wait another 24 hours again the next day to buy another. So you find currently our markets are very inefficient. There's a lot of time wastage, because if a person has to wait for 24 hours and keep saying, Paul, you know, I don't have enough stock the whole day, that's a very unfortunate situation. Yet we have the technology, capital, human capital as well, and new business models that we can combine together to just ensure that situation doesn't continue.
Also, maybe you could explain to us why small and medium enterprises are important to the economy of this country, and is there longevity when it comes to that? Is it a guarantee?
So currently, you know, the informal, what we call the informal, or as we like to call the micro entrepreneur, they create 80% of the jobs that we currently have in the country, right? And then they contribute around about 30% of the GDP. And based on just several studies, if they got the capital that they needed, that could grow by 50 to 100x in terms of what they can contribute. Because, you know, in Kenya, we don't have as many industries as, let's say, mature markets. So, and these small businesses are the ones who will become the supermarkets, will become the retailers, the fashion brands, the food, because they're already the most economically active. Where if they open their stall in the morning, you're sure at the end of the day they'll have some money. As opposed to, let's say, trying to figure out how does bigger, more mature companies hire more people, which is not very possible, because you can't accelerate a company's growth. So if a company is in the telecom business, if it's in the manufacturing business, they can't grow as fast as a small business, because, as we've said, currently they're just selling 2 shoes, but the demand in a day is maybe 10 pairs of shoes. And if they get the capital, then they'll be able to sell 10 pairs of shoes, make more profit, make more sales, and actually be able to hire more people. Because currently, even if they contribute 80% of the jobs, they're a sole proprietor business. They're only able to hire themselves, to hire the business owner. And if we inject the capital that they actually need, they can hire one more person. So we could actually reach 100% employment rate by just ensuring that small businesses don't remain small for too long. And we kind of bridge that gap, where, as I mentioned, mobile money agents should not have to turn away a customer because they don't have float. They should be able to service everybody, make the commissions that they make, and that in itself will lead to more jobs being created.
So what is the future of mobile money when it comes to Kenya in particular?
So I guess what we're seeing, so from our standpoint, where we chose to zero rate the cost of mobile money fees. So basically, if you want to use M-Pesa, it's 100% free on our product. We see that will be the future, where sending money, making payments will be 100% free. And then we will need to have new business models around how do we provide the customer the same level of convenience, just without minus the friction of cost. Because currently, I think one of the biggest complaints that a lot of the users have is how expensive it is. And so the future is kind of, with as technology advances and then more people use a product, the cost can only go to zero across all the transactions.
So so far, how much do you think can be saved on transaction fees?
So as I mentioned, typically our users will save 4,000 shillings a month.
4,000.
By using our product, and that is a very significant amount of money, given that if you look at our insurance penetration rate, it's at less than 3%, or rather at 13% if you look at the NHIF, and with 4,000 shillings you can be able to easily pay for your national health insurance fund. You're able to also get a business insurance, something we're trying to encourage more small businesses to do, given the rampant fires that keep happening in different markets, or when burglars or thieves steal your products, then you can be able to replace that. So we don't see it as just like saving 4,000 shillings, it's the opportunity cost. Because if you could see, so for us, we see it as 10x that, so whereby if you could be able to actually have that 4,000 shillings, you could spend it on something that gives you a very big value, as opposed to the money in itself.
So I'm getting a text here and from someone and saying that this is like giving someone free money. So is that the case?
So it's not really giving free money, because it's how do you enable an economy to be able to afford any future products, right? To ensure that there's no inefficiencies in where the capital is going. Because if I save you that 4,000 shillings, that probably becomes the interest that you're going to pay me for my loan. Because if I don't help you save more or make more money, I can't sell you more services and products. So I end up as a company just relying on very small margins, as opposed to saying, how do I make your wallet much more fatter? And then that means I can provide you more services. As I've mentioned, if we unlock that 4,000 shillings that you were spending and was going to waste, not to waste, but it was going for a service that could be free, then what that means is I could sell you insurance, and in insurance I can make maybe 10% of the insurance that I sell you. I could also provide you with an education loan that now you could be able to pay back for. If now you can afford to buy more talk time or more airtime, you can afford to even have insurance for your phone as well. So it's basically when a consumer saves, when you save a consumer money, the money doesn't just necessarily sit in their pocket. It gets budgeted for now new services and products that now the person can afford, and those services and products could be even having higher margins and more dynamic in terms of how often they buy those products. So what we're trying to just do is make sure that the trader has more money to spend on other things, because typically what traders and even micro entrepreneurs spend on is only on the stock. Because they don't have enough money to spend on anything else. If you ask them if they have health insurance, they'll say no. If you ask them if they have a business insurance, the answer is no. If you ask them if they have savings, the answer is no. So basically, the trader is not, we're not able to make the trader a customer of many services and products. So we want to enable that. So it's not giving them free money, it's unlocking more money for service providers and other businesses and companies, and even for the economy in general. Because if we were to release 4,000 shillings for 1 million people, that would be a lot of money coming back into the ecosystem. And it wouldn't be just one company making that 4,000 shillings. Now it becomes a lot more companies and a lot more service providers benefiting from that.
Absolutely. So what are some of the channels that will be used, or rather that have been used, to create more awareness for MSMEs on Asilimia?
So we are actively in the market. So we spend a lot of time in Marikiti, we spend a lot of time in Gikomba. We are trying to also go into Nakuru, Mombasa, and have a lot more salespeople, because there is that sensitization education. Because what we are trying to kind of, the habit we're trying to create is that traders don't understand that their data is their gold. The more you do basic accounting of saying, I bought 10 pairs of shoes and this was the cost, and then I sold them for this amount of money, that is a good habit to develop, because even for themselves, they're able to understand, is my business doing well or is it doing badly? And then for us as a company, we're able now to unlock now other values, like, you know, the lending, the loans, the savings. Now we're able to like walk with them from like a financial standpoint, just the same way, you know, as a person, if you get your first job and you go to the bank, you know, you get a, you know, financial advisor who tells you now you can open this account for savings, you can get this kind of loan and all this kind of stuff. So we have to have people physically in the ground. We also do use, you know, online campaigns, Facebook, Google, and then just combine all that to educate and reach more users. Yeah.
So what is the duration of the loan?
So yeah, so we're still kind of finalizing on that, because we're going to work with financial partners that now are the ones to come in and say, okay, cool, what does the market need as well, and then what can be provided. So what we see is that, as I've mentioned, because we're dealing with businesses, businesses have very short-term needs, where, as I mentioned, an M-Pesa agent just needs to have access to, let's say, 100,000 shillings or 500,000 shillings during the day, so that they can be able to service the customers and then be able to pay that back at the end of the day. Or a person who wants to buy more shoes needs a week to sell those shoes, right? So basically we're looking at trade financing, and trade financing is very short-term based as opposed to it being long-term based. And then after we build that relationship, the first relationship, now we go into like, the trader also is a farm owner. He has a farm, you know, outside of Nairobi. Maybe now they want to buy cows for like maybe their family members. So we're able now that becomes a long-term loan of saying, you know, this one is like 12 months for the cow to grow, start producing milk and so forth. So it just kind of depends on the use case. But given that our users are traders, first is just to provide that trade financing that most companies and businesses usually enjoy. So big companies and businesses have like overdrafts, trade financing that they are able to like quickly access, you know, 100,000 or 1 million shillings to, you know, as they like to say, to clear a container that has arrived, and then they're given like 30 days to like liquidate the container and then be able to pay back the bank.
So I'm having another text here from Alex, and he's asking, what are the interest rates?
So yeah, so again, those are like things we are trying to iron out, but what we're looking at is not really, because currently there are like very many ways and means to get access to loans. You have loan sharks, you have the digital lenders, you have banks, you have MFIs, SACCOs, and so forth. And kind of the bone of contention has always been the interest rate, right? You know, how much do you charge for the loan? So we are looking at being very, very favorable from a perspective of, I think the benchmark is what SACCOs tend to provide, where they give the best terms in terms of the cost of the loan, as opposed to like, let's say it being a very aggressively priced loan. And then the duration also will matter, right? So if the person is able to clear it like in a day or in a month, then that means it's cheaper than if it's going to be 12 months or 3 years and so forth.
Great. So what are some of the loopholes that are expected you know, to be covered along the line of Asilimia?
So yeah, so the problems are just kind of trying to like solve our lack of data in terms of small businesses. We have no data that can tell you how well small businesses are performing or micro entrepreneurs are performing. Secondly, is just the cost of mobile money in terms of just having the data is there, that even now a small business, even not just relying on us, they can go to any financial institution and say, this is my statement in terms of how my business performed in the last 3 months, and be able to negotiate for the best loans, best interest, and not just be left to just one option. So that is so those are the key issues, and then the key issue that we really want to solve is the lack of data. Sometimes, Africa is always sometimes termed as the dark continent, and not just because of lack of electricity, but there's no information. You can't Google your way to understand how many small businesses do we have actually in the country, and how much sales do they do, turnover, what's the daily turnover of Gikomba, Asilimia, we have no idea, right? So even from a perspective of the business community, or even you wanting to start a business, you don't know even how many competitors you have. So we just want to kind of really solve that problem of not lack of data. There's actually a lot of data, but it's not being captured in the right format and in the right platform. So everybody's putting their data on pen and paper with a piece of book where they write, this is how much I sold, this is what somebody owes me. So we want to move that data into a format that is readable and understandable and verifiable as well, so that now the market can be moved to the next level.
So do we have a very long way to go so as to get to that level that you're talking about?
No. I think with technology things move very fast. Already the habit is there, right? So traders already do record keeping. They have to understand how their business is performing. And now we already have a mobile application that they can quickly download, register, and start doing those records that they were doing previously before. So we don't have to wait for too long. It's a very short-term situation. So I think we're very excited to see what 5 years look like. And us as a company, we're consistently investing in the technology, in the team, in the growth, so that we can accelerate the development. Because unlike previously, before many years ago, where things took forever to grow, to get enough user base, now at least as startups, we're able to get capital that allows us to quickly scale, where we can move from 0 to 1 million traders within 6 months, 12 months as well. So we don't have to wait. All we have to do now is just kind of create that awareness, get traders to use the product, because also we need them to remember, don't just get comfortable with writing the sales on the pen of paper, just use the application.
So when we've touched a little bit on financial institutions, and where do they go wrong when it comes to providing funds for these enterprises?
I think fear is one, so the fear of losing money, and then secondly is just doing the same thing that they've done 10, 20 years or 30 years over and over and over again. And I think unfortunately for us, it's quite it's more beneficial or less risky to lend to the government than to a small business. So you find that just because financial institutions are a business, and they have to be concerned about their profits, and they have to be concerned about not losing people's money, because the loans that they give are customers' savings. But unfortunately, they forget that they're not lending to the customer that's actually savings with them. And that is where they get it wrong. They also, and not just also being innovative as time changes. Maybe 10 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago, it was very difficult to assess a person who can pay you or not pay you. But now, with all this new technology, the smartphone, mobile money being very rampant, AI, machine learning, data scientists kind of coming out of universities and being able to now consolidate data and not only just know about the person today, but have a predictive analysis that say this person in the next 10 years, they'll be able to be earning 1 million shillings monthly if we inject this capital, as opposed to just looking at the person saying, oh, you make 10,000 shillings. Sorry, we cannot work with you. So I think they're not using technology as they should. They're not investing enough in human capital as well that could come in with new ideas. They might not be bankers. They might not have like an immediate value. But in the long term, they do bring that value, right? Hiring data scientists, UX designers, UI researchers, software developers, and just having them sit in the office. They're not really bankers, but they can bring that value, right? Because they're the ones to come in and start talking about, oh, let's aggregate this API from ride hailing application, because now you have all these applications for hailing taxis. And there's a lot of data being generated there, and that could be used to finance and de-risk boda person, because now you can see how much money he's making on a day-to-day basis. So a boda rider should be able to actually get the loan for whether it is to buy a cow, whether it is to buy a house, because now through the many startups that are kind of enabling him to make an income, that data can be captured through an API. And then now the bank can see, oh, this guy is actually making a salary every day, and we can have fast access of that capital, and then let's provide them the loan. So I think financial institutions are not, investing in the technologies and the talent that is needed to now bring in this new way of banking that is much more capital efficient, more profitable, and just reaches more customers.
So when it comes to MSMEs, they get to operate in an environment of high complexity and rapid change, and they really heavily rely on intangible assets. What happens if that complexity is not there?
So they thrive, right? Because already they are thriving with a lot of hardships, right? So if you think about the mama mboga, if you think about the hawkers that we see in the streets of Nairobi, they're very, very versatile, and they're very dynamic, right? Where quickly nobody was selling masks, but all of a sudden every corner of the streets you go to, you see all the traders selling masks. Now it's the rainy season, all of a sudden you'll see umbrellas starting to crop up. So I think the MSMEs are what can accelerate the economy if we remove the frictions. If they get more government support, if they get more capital into it, if you get even more companies building solutions for them as well, right? Where it's not just one company to solve all the problems. We need the insurance companies that come in and create insurance products that actually work for them, right? We need companies that come and say, for us, we want to provide an education loan, and us, we want to provide an agricultural loan, right? So I think if more participation was coming in to support micro entrepreneurs, then we would see a shift. And even in developed countries like the US, all these huge supermarkets that we see, whether it's Walmart, they started as an MSME. It was a person with a small kiosk who just consistently sold every day in terms of the products, the merchandise, right? And then they just got support, the economy grew, and the demand for the products increased. So I think if we removed all those frictions and the complexities, I think it would be good for the country and just good for us all, because now the same convenience we enjoy from them, where if you have a kiosk that's selling fruits and vegetables outside your house, it's more convenient than having to drive off or take a bus to go find the next big supermarket that you can get the same merchandise and goods from.
So in that perspective, what are the future plans of Asilimia?
So it's again is introducing new services and products around how do you ensure more small businesses have access to insurance? How do you ensure more small businesses have access to loans of different loan products? Also in terms of also how do we get banks to collect the savings and the capital that small businesses are storing, whether it's under their mattress or in their pockets, to expanding now to other African countries that have a similar character or need as well as we see in Kenya.
So when you are at the grassroots level, when you want to engage these various MSMEs, and at times when you get to engage with them, they do not want the feedback on Asilimia. So how do you get to just talk to them, have a proper sit down and help them to just clearly understand this or that, and for you to show them that it will definitely benefit them in the long run?
So I think working with an entrepreneur, because they are entrepreneurs, right, just that their business is smaller, I think it's much easier, because once they see the value, in terms of it will increase their business in terms of sales. It will save them money, especially if you talk to a business owner and say the first thing you tell them is you'll save more money. They'll open their doors, they'll be very quick, they'll be like, okay, let me even go buy the smartphone today so that I can use your product, as opposed to if you come to them and say it'll cost you more money. So a business person, if you start the conversation as, oh, my product, I'm going to sell it to you for this more money, then there they just, they don't talk to you, they don't say yes. But if you start the conversation as, oh, I'll save you more money, they're like, let me even create a new budget and just go buy a new phone, just be able to use your product, because that is how they think, because they care for their businesses, they care for like their family, because that's where the aspirations are. Most of the traders are parents, and the only way they'll ensure their kids get access to education is if their business does well. So they're easier to actually convince, they're easier to talk to than maybe somebody who's employed, or maybe somebody who doesn't have an economic activity, because they don't have that attachment to the thing that gives them access to healthcare, access to education, and even entertainment, where they know if they work hard Monday till Friday, they can take their kids to Huru Park, boat rides, road trips. So we find that the trader is very, very open to new ideas, open to new technologies, because they want to do what is best for their business. It might not be best for them, but as long as it's good for the business, it's good for them. And we've just been welcomed with open hands, where the traders are owning the product. It's not even our product, it's their product, right? And it's been amazing to see that, because we are coming into an ecosystem where it's been lacking in terms of people building services and products and saying, we really care about Mama Mboga, we really want to provide you a service. So when we come in, you find that we are the only ones talking to them that way.
So as we get to wind up, what is your parting shot in regards to MSMEs and also an Asilimia in this matter?
Yeah, just I would ask them to download the application on Play Store, because it's a very small step to a very big journey or a very big impact, right? And that just small habit of recording your sales and just keeping track of what you're doing is what unlocks all the resources that they need to grow their business. And it might look simple, but it really goes a long way in terms of ensuring that the narrative changes, where now you'll have businesses and financial institutions running towards MSMEs and says, please take our money, please open an account with us. Because once the market realizes how well they're doing, because we like to assess micro SMEs by how they look. You just see a small shanty and you think this person is not doing business. But what the data is actually telling us, they're actually making a lot of money, they're doing a lot of sales. And if I was a bank, and I would be aggressively pursuing an MSME, because they're the most versatile and highly dynamic businesses that I've seen, because they don't have a lot of dead weight in terms of stock. They don't have a lot of costs in terms of employees, expensive locations. So they do better when you give them capital than, let's say, a big factory that has, maybe 100,000 employees. They have like 10 branches across the country, and that is rent, and their electricity cost is very high. So we find small business very, very highly agile and very, very profitable if given the right technologies and capital that they need.
That's great. So thank you so much, Mwendwa, for your time. Thank you so much for coming here and expounding the narrative on Asilimia and what the entrepreneurs need to do